recently did a video around a banned book, that book being The Hunger Games, and it got me wondering what other books were banned that we don't know about, and what I found absolutely shocked me. Now, some of these books I already had, and the ones I didn't, I went and brought. So the first book is Harry Potter. Well, more the whole series has been actually banned. Reasons for this is because certain countries felt as though it promoted the occult. It encouraged magic and witchcraft practices. And this was a concern in schools. Some critics have also argued that this book promotes rebellion against authority. And that's going to be a theme I believe we're going to see a couple of times throughout this video. A couple of these books really surprised me. I didn't think they would be banned, and even if I wasn't surprised that they were banned, the reasons that they were banned I was surprised about. And the second one I'm going to talk about today, and one of the ones that really surprised me, is Charlotte's Web. So there's two main reasons that this book has been banned. The first is that some people believe that it promotes the idea that animals have the same rights as people. It's a very odd thing to be worried about. I mean, I'm sure they're not asking pigs to vote. I'm pretty sure that's not the theme of the book. But another thing they didn't like was that it displayed animals talking to each other. So I can imagine the critics that didn't like this are the same people who wanted to ban Toy Story. I mean, how absolutely absurd. It's a kid's book. Animals talk to each other in all different types of films and media. It's just a book. This one I don't understand. I mean, I didn't understand the Harry Potter one either because, I mean, I don't know how it's meant to be promoting the occult. So I don't really get that one. I don't get this one. Obviously, if you disagree with me, let me know. I'll be really interested to know your thoughts. So the next book that I wasn't surprised that it was on the list, but I was surprised one of the reasons that it was on the list, and this is The Diary of Anne Frank. Now, I read this first when I was probably about 10, and I didn't really understand, I don't think, the gravity behind this book. So I have brought it again because I do want to reread it. So the obvious reason that you would think that this has been banned is because of the descriptions of war and the persecution of Jews. Now, that I was expecting to see on the list. The reason I've included this in the books you may not realise are banned is because of the other reason that it's frowned upon. And that is because of the discussions around sex, especially around Anne's emerging sexuality. So she does have a love interest in this. I say love interest like it's a story. Obviously, it's a true account, but she does have a crush and she does talk through the book around that. I just didn't realise it was going to be so extreme that it would be a reason that this wasn't an okay book. This was going to be banned. I mean, the people who don't like this really must hate things like 50 Shades of Grey and the Fourth Wing series. I mean, it's a natural part of life. It is normal. It's nature. So this one, although I wasn't surprised the book was banned, I was surprised for the latter reason that it was. Next we have Of Mice and Men. Now, the reasons behind this book being banned, not surprising at all. The reason I've added it to the list and the reason that I was surprised it was on the list is I read this in school. So where I live, this is not banned. Although looking at the reasons behind why it's on this list, you could argue that maybe it should be. Now, these reasons include racial slurs, its depiction of euthanasia, especially how Lenny was unalived at the end, shall we say. But also, it's got challenging social norms and the portrayal of marginalised individuals. So I kind of understand why this has been banned, but as I said, the fact that I read this in school, the fact that they got us to watch the movie in school as well, I was more surprised that it was on the list because I've had an education of this book. But like I said, I can understand why it's on the list. The reasons do make sense. The next book, To Kill a Mockingbird. Now this has kind of got a similar story to Of Mice and Men in the fact that it does use racial slurs and the depiction of racism. And some people argue it's too explicit for young readers and it's potentially too distressing as well. Particularly how this book addresses the justice system and the treatment of certain individuals has made it a target in some areas. So that's the reason that this book is banned. Now, I'm going to be honest, I already had this book. I did buy some of these books. I didn't have them all. I've actually not read it. It's one of those books that's on my list of classics that I need to read. So now I know it's banned, I kind of want to read it more to understand if I agree with the reasons behind it. Catcher in the Rye is our next banned book. So this book has been banned due to the use of profanity, discussions of teenage sexuality, and the portrayal of the protagonist, who is seen as a delusional and rebellious teenager. It depicts mental health struggles in this book and an existential disillusionment, which has some parents concerned, which is why this book is banned. Now, with a lot of these books, it comes across that the parents are concerned that their kids are going to be reading them, and that's why they're banned. But maybe the target audience should be readdressed. Maybe this should be remarketed, so to speak, as a book for adults instead of young children. Maybe libraries can have covers on these books saying that the views of when this were written have changed, they're no longer acceptable. Much like Disney, I think, are doing now, and Now TV do. They have this thing that comes up before to say that their outdated views, they're no longer accepted or thought of that way, and they're not the views of the person showing it, but here's the original article. Maybe that could happen, so people realise, without picking up the book and reading it, that maybe the views in this aren't what we would have today. Brave New World. Now this is a book I had no idea about. I'd never read this book. I'd never heard of it. But the premise of this really intrigued me. And it's a dystopian novel, basically. And the reason this has been banned is because of drug use, promiscuity, and the critique of social control through technology and manipulation. Some people have argued that it's got a negative view of the future, and that is why that they don't like this book. It's been banned. Now, I'm not sure how far in the future this is meant to be set. You could probably read this and say, well, it's not our future, or, you know, this is an outdated view of what the future was going to be like. Much like in those movies where they thought in 2020 we'd have flying cars, and obviously we don't, as far as I'm aware. So, you know, maybe let people come to that conclusion themselves. But like I said, maybe just when you're selling this book or you're putting it in the library, change where it's being targeted, change the section that this is in, put it with adults. Age restrict it if you need to. So the next book, and I'm sure you guys are expecting me to put this in here, is The Hunger Games. Now I've done a whole video as to why these books have been banned, so do go check it out if you're interested. But basically, violence, especially on teenagers, government control, rebellion, uprising. And some critics just think it's too bleak a series for young readers. And that, in a nutshell, is why The Hunger Games is banned in certain places. Now, I do give an opinion in that video, so do go check that one out. But I did obviously need to add it into this video as well. So we've got 2 books left. The first one is 1984 by George Orwell. So Orwell critiques totalitarianism in this, as well as surveillance states as well, and it has made it a target on this book, especially on forms of censorship. Certain governments feel this book portrays oppressive political systems as too dangerous or subversive. Again, this is a book that I actually already had and I haven't gotten around to reading yet. It was something that was recommended that we read in school, but I didn't get round to it. So I've had it, I think, since college. But it's definitely something that I'm really interested in reading. I mean, my to-be read list is as long as both my arms together. It's just insane. This is Fahrenheit 451. And ironically, this is a book about books that are banned, particularly printed books. So books are being burnt to the point, and I love this fact, that when this book first came out, there's a match strip on the side to kind of play into the whole, this is like not allowed, this is a naughty book. And again, this book is frowned upon because of the use of profanity and its portrayal of dystopian society. Some also find that the criticism of government control and the conformity just too radical. So that is all of our banned books that I had to show you today, guys. Now, as I said, some of them I was just surprised in general to see them on the list because I studied them at school. Some of them I wasn't surprised to see on the list, but the reasons that they're on there I was a little bit taken aback by. Not necessarily the reasons that I would have thought they'd be banned for. And others I just thought were pure bonkers. A lot of these books are banned because the readers perceive them as uncomfortable. They have radical ideas. They are giving people ideas maybe as well, which, I mean, have we any proof of that? I don't know. But that's all the books, guys, that I had in my list to talk to you guys about. If you have any other books that you know are banned in certain countries or where you live, let me know. I'd love to do another video on banned books. I think it's ever so interesting. But also let me know if you were surprised by any of those books or any of the reasons that they were banned as well. Don't forget to subscribe. We've got so much great content coming out this year. And until next time, you take care.